Welcome, everybody, to Boston 9/11 Truth. Today is September 4th, Thursday, and we have joining us a very special guest, the producer of Incontrovertible, or I guess that's how you pronounce it. Anyway, he's joining us from the UK. He's won a lawsuit in the British courts against the BBC, and I will let him tell us all about it. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you, Susan. I didn't win a lawsuit. I wish I had. I wish I had. I know what you're referring to. I went to court against the BBC some years back, 2013 now. But that arose because as I don't know if Magnus has it in Norway, but they have a TV license in the UK, and if you buy a television, you have to buy a license, which is effectively a tax to watch the television. And as you guys all know, the BBC reported the collapse of Building 7 twice before it occurred, 20 minutes and 30 minutes prior, which was slightly suspicious. And so I wrote to the BBC and said, could you give me the source for the report on that? And they couldn't. And long story short, I decided to withhold my TV license from the BBC. So, well, I'm not going to pay you because we have a law in the UK called the Terrorism Act. And one of the provisions in the Terrorism Act, Section 15, is if you have reasonable cause to suspect you could be furthering the purposes of terrorism, then you don't pay. It's an offence if you do pay. And so I used that law when the BBC effectively took me to court for non-payment, and submitted quite a lot of evidence prior to the case, which we're required to do, and was assisted by depositions from people like Richard Gage, Nars Harriet, anti-terrorism officers in this country, police intelligence analysts in this country. So I had a good sort of defense, if you will. And so we got to court. The judge refused to air the evidence in court, although he said he had seen it. And whereas you would normally be fined quite a lot of money, and you can be thousands of pounds or £1,000 for not having a license for as long as I didn't have one, which was about 10 years, I think. The judge said, okay, no fine, you're guilty, you've admitted that you don't have a license, but no fine. And he refused to tell me to get a TV license as well. So that was very interesting. So it's kind of viewed as a Pyrrhic victory. So I didn't win I didn't win a suit. I wasn't suing anyone. I was defending myself against the BBC and said, well, look, I think I'm furthering the purposes of terrorism, or certainly furthering the cover-up of 9/11 by paying them. And I've not paid my TV license since.
That's amazing.
Yeah, well,
quite a victory.
It was good, and unfortunately, people have tried it since. My friend Matt Campbell, who lost his brother on 9/11, I'm sure you know of Matt. He tried it a few months later, and sadly, the judge fined him £400. But interestingly enough, the money was refunded to his bank account not long afterwards. So that someone in the court service obviously had a conscience. But so yeah, that was the BBC experience. And on the back of it, because it did receive quite a bit of publicity on the internet, we managed to raise money to make the film Incontrovertible. So that was interesting, and because of the publicity it got, I was able to get hold of a list from Andy Steele, who I'm sure you're aware of.
Oh yes.
9/11 Truth in America. And it was just packed with police officers who'd written statements to say that, we're not happy with what's been going on with 9/11, and managed to get hold of some of them and flew over to the States, interviewed them and people like Cynthia McKinney, who Susan and I were discussing earlier, and some cops, Rudy Dent, Mary Revell, John Meadows, and to get them on film, because I've always been of the opinion that politicians to me are just a waste of space. I don't vote anymore. I don't think I'll ever vote again. But I think if we can change the minds and the hearts of police officers who, look how many, there are a lot of 60 odd police officers died on 9/11. Then maybe something can be done that way. That's just my opinion. That's just my angle.
It's a very good angle. The same angle has been taken with firefighters and took a while, but yeah, we're really breaking through with firefighters now.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. I have liaised over quite a long time with some firefighters in the north of England on the Building 7 issue. And yeah, I mean, there's definitely a cover up going on here. But everyone's scared. That's the problem. They don't want to lose their wages. They don't want to lose their job, even if they don't earn huge bucks. They're very worried about. Well, I can understand it, their family and their security, even though that they know the truth. You only have to, as we all know, you only have to understand high school physics to know that Building 7 was a controlled demolition.
Right.
2.25 seconds free fall. That's all you need to understand. And of course, in Britain, we're the wagging tail of American foreign policy. So when you guys went marching into the Middle East, our lot followed. And of course, that was paid for by my taxes.
Yeah.
And so that again is furthering the purposes of terrorism.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming the troops, but it is furthering the purposes of terrorism. And so I decided that I was going to stop paying all my taxes, and I've been in court quite a bit, even recently, over that. Not very popular with my wife, but and the next plan my local council want to do is put me in prison for it. But therein lies their problem, because they want to put me in prison for it. Then I get to put my defense properly. And that could create them problems. And they've even said that to me. The lady outside the court, who's the litigator for our local council, said, "Mr. Rooke, if you win this case, we have chaos in this country." And I said, "Well, I think we've already got chaos in this country if we're funding crap like that." Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And that was 9 months ago, and I've still not heard anything. So I don't know why they're dragging their heels over the court case.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is, and unfortunately, you don't have a similar law in America. The closest thing you've got, and I did look at it earlier on, is you have a law in the States, which is USC, or is that code? US Statutory Code 2339A to B. It makes it a felony to knowingly provide funds or material support to terrorism. But unfortunately, the way your laws are structured, you have a prescribed list of terrorist organizations, and the American government isn't on it. So that's where it could be tricky. But on the other hand, it's, which duty comes first? Is it funding government or refusing to fund terrorism? But that's an option that I think maybe people should look at, either on an individual basis or a collective basis, where they refuse to fund some form of taxation there. Because for all the great efforts of people like Ted Walters and Matt Campbell and Richard Gage, and even Mr. Johnson, I don't think we're going to have much success at the higher echelons of court, because the higher you go with the legal system, the closer you become to the corruption that lies in it. But at the lower level, certainly in England, when I go to court, I'm dealing with 3 unpaid individuals who really don't have an awful lot to lose if they ruled in my favor. But I've not been able to put the defense fully yet. But this isn't just 9/11. I mean, I digress a little bit, but this is to do with the London bombings as well, which we have reasonable cause to believe is not as advertised. That's for sure.
That was your 9/11, so to speak. 7
Mm.
7.
Yeah, and I think anyone who was aware of 9/11 when 7/7 happened, and I turned my TV on that morning, it was kind of like, oh, Bruce, not again. You
Mm.
know, it was my immediate thought that this is not going to be as advertised. And you know, the interesting thing is that the 7/7 material has actually been through the British courts. There
Oh,
was a gentleman here called Anthony John Hill who made a film, and if you've not watched it, I urge you to watch it, called 7/7 Ripple Effect.
wow.
And he was arrested for making that film because he sent it to the judge and jury at a trial linked to 7/7.
Oh my. Yeah.
Yeah, because he wanted the three Muslim men who were on trial accused of assisting the alleged 7/7 bombers to get a fair trial. And the British government didn't like that, and they had him extradited from his home in Ireland, shipped over to the UK, put in prison for 150 days, and then put on trial. And the jury, and this is again cutting a long story short, the jury looked at his film and said, no, this film would not pervert the course of justice. And it
Uh-huh.
said the British government did it. But of course, that never made the news. Everyone ignored that trial in the UK.
Wow.
Mainstream media ignored that trial in the UK. So that created reasonable cause again. So when I go into court now, it's kind of two pronged. I have the 9/11 and the 7/7 issues.
Right.
Um, mm, yeah.
Wow. That I had not heard about that. That's
Mm.
so you still have breaking news coming, it seems.
Well, I mean, yeah, I was speaking to Richard or discussing with Richard the other day, like Magnus mentioned the from the courtroom series that he's doing, and I said, oh, I've got some stuff going on here. He said, Tony, I'm really busy doing this, and I said, well, I'm really busy doing this, and but it is a like I said, it's a legal option that we have in the United Kingdom, but doesn't seem to be so available in the United States. And maybe someone like Mr. Johnson, or if you get maybe the legal guys at the with Ted Walters and whatnot, could have a look into the law, because at the end of the day, as taxpayers, you're all funding this cover up,
That's right.
which is nuts.
Yep. It
And
makes us all complicit, unwittingly, but we're still complicit.
yeah, well, whereas in England, I have a law, the Terrorism Act 2000 and sections 15 to 18, where I can actually turn around and say, I'm not going to pay you. I'm withholding my taxes.
Hmm.
And I've had big arguments with the Inland Revenue and with my local council, accounting department, etc. But the interesting thing is, I wrote to the Home Office and said to them, could you please give me some advice? Is anyone exempt from this legislation? And they said, no, not even HMRC are exempt from this legislation. I thought, oh, good. I didn't tell them why I was asking, but
Yeah.
but no one is exempt, and they shouldn't
That's
be.
So that's the difference between the UK system of justice on terrorism and our system. We have a list, an official list of terrorist organizations, whereas your laws against supporting terrorism is not bound by any official list. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's pretty much, if you distill it, that's the way it is. However, I think if you were to get hold of a good lawyer somehow and say to them, look, which duty comes first, funding government or refusing to fund terrorism? Reasonable cause in this country is a very low threshold. Reasonable cause to suspect. I don't know what it is in the States. I don't. I'm not familiar with US law, but I mean, if for example, if I'm sure you're familiar or someone's familiar with Operation Northwoods,
Yes.
which of course was the documented plot to bomb parts of the United States by the military and intelligence agencies in '62, which thankfully was vetoed by John F. Kennedy. But obviously, someone was funding that. It was the American taxpayer. You were funding a plot, albeit unwittingly, to bomb yourselves and then send your own men off to war
Right.
on a false pretext.
Yeah.
So it seemed to me a rather sort of simple notion, really, that there must be laws against funding this kind of crap,
Hmm.
and found it and decided to utilize it. And I got lucky with the judge at the BBC case. I think he was actually quite a reasonable, honest man. Um, he said to me, which was wrong, actually, I've since found out was wrong. He said to me that even if he agreed with my evidence, and I think he did, he wouldn't be able to do anything. Well, that's not true, because Section 19 of the Terrorism Act says if you have reasonable cause to suspect, you must report it immediately to the police. So if he did agree with me, he should have stopped the case and said, right, we're going to adjourn this case. This material goes to the police force. It's what he should have done, but didn't. And I didn't know enough about it then to argue the toss, you know.
Wow.
But yeah.
But you've got that in your pocket for the future. If
Um,
this refusing to pay taxes should escalate.
I think so. I think, I mean, whilst I applaud the efforts of the truth movement in America and people like Matt over here who are, pushing Matt Campbell, I'm sure you're aware, is
Yes.
trying to get an attorney general's decision overturned here. Um, Whether that will happen, I don't know. It might do. And the only reason I think it might happen is because the consequences aren't really that damaging to the government. And they'll probably be able to drag it out forever. But I think I'm very wary of committees. There are too many committees knocking around. I like to do things on my own. And I think one of the things you can do on your own is object to funding this crap. And you're just waking your police up on a local level. I had a strange experience earlier this year. I think I'd had a sherry or two, Susan, if I was to be quite honest. And I was on social media, and the local police had posted a little thing saying Sussex Police, which is my local constabulary, Sussex Police, tough on terrorism. And I actually wrote bullshit, you're not, and went into the reasons why they're not. And a week later, I had two rather burly officers turn up at my front door to give me a psychiatric review.
Oh no.
So what the hell are you doing here? And they said, oh, well, and these men were not remotely qualified to do a psychiatric review by any measure. And it was purely an intimidation thing. And I
Wow.
think, as we mentioned before, we came on air, so to speak. Well, my father used to be a policeman, so I'm quite familiar with what the police can and can't do. And so I reported them immediately. And a couple of days later, a sergeant came around, their sergeant, to apologize. And so he sat down in my kitchen, and I had a friend of mine with me, Chloe. And I said, well, I hope you don't mind if I video this. He said, no, I don't mind. And so we videoed the talk. And he said, well, why did you post what you posted? I said, well, because it's true. You guys are actually clueless about terrorism, and I can prove it. And eventually persuaded him, literally one of these, which is a documentary that is full of policemen, which I made,
Mhm.
persuaded him to watch it. And then he very foolishly, a couple of days later, texts me on his phone and said, I'm paraphrasing, but said, wow, thank you so much for giving me the film. These people are so evil. They will do anything to further their own agenda. I've shown the film to my friend, or discussed Building 7 with my friend, who's a fireman. And he said he knew all about it. He said, no, I don't know how that building came down either. And so the law is, if that policeman, who obviously agreed with me, doesn't then report it,
Right.
He's in breach of Section 26 of the Criminal Courts and Justice Act 2015. It's an offence for a policeman not to do that, and he could get 14 years in prison. But I'm kind of like, well, I'm beyond caring now. I'm fed up with corrupt police officers, and so I reported him. But of course, nothing happened. I mean,
Oh,
his boss, the inspector, then got back to me and said, "Oh, he's retracted what he said. He didn't mean it." And then I had the chief constable's office call me up and say, "We would like a copy of the video that you took of our officer." And I said, "No." I said, "You can see it when it comes out in my documentary, and not before." And there's nothing they can do about it.
yeah.
So that's the film I'm making at the moment, which is a broader film about taxation and the events of 9/11, the events of London, and etc. etc. I'm just trying to help people understand the laws that we have in this country. It's like I said, it's a little bit harder. I don't know how the film would translate in America because you don't you don't really have that blanket coverage that we have. Mm.
So I'm glad you brought up your future film. What's the name of it?
Oh, the film's called A Letter from Chloe, and it's
Oh,
yeah, a friend of mine who really, well, I didn't want it to be me on camera all the time because that'd be rather boring, and she's better looking than I am. So, and she's very brave and vociferous, and she's been to court with me as well. She withheld her taxes, but they really bullied her. They were sending bailiffs around to her house, and she has two children. She's a single mum, so she buckled, but she's still very much on board and very brave. I said, "Listen, I'm thinking of doing this film. Would you be interested in being the sort of protagonist?" And she said, "Sure." And so the film is done in the form of her writing a letter to the Prime Minister. So that's the voice of the film. That sort of threads all the way through, and there's these shots of her sitting under a tree, writing into a notepad, and sitting
mhm.
at a computer typing this letter. And so her voice is constantly going throughout the film, rather than have a straightforward narrator. I did try and get her to narrate, but she's a lousy actress. So I said, "Well, look, just do it as if you're reading a letter, and you'll be fine." And it does. It works. Thank goodness.
Wow.
So it's that. So and then when it's finished, we will deliver it to Downing Street, and then Mr. Starmer, who is ever in power, when it's finished, will be able to turn around and say, "Go away, shut up."
So you're quite the filmmaker. Is that your profession?
No, not really. I mean, I used to work for the BBC. I'm ashamed to say,
Ooh.
but yeah, I know. Yeah, but pre 9/11, I'm talking about a long time before I went to the States. Actually, because Susan and I were talking. I lived there in the 80s, but before I went to the States, I worked for the BBC. But I worked on shows like Doctor Who and crap like that.
I love
And
that series.
yeah, not when I was there, Susan. It was like Cyberman cost 50p.
Oh,
It was the
wow.
cheap days of Doctor Who. And then I did some writing work. I did a children's TV series for Channel 4 here. And, I've done some music is what I love doing. I've written some music for films and things. But when we did the BBC case, because it garnered a little bit of attention on the internet, and I said I wanted to make a film, we managed to raise about £32,000, which is a lot for a 9/11 movie.
Yes.
Not a lot for a movie, but it's a lot for a 9/11 movie.
Yep.
Um, and so, but most of that was spent on traveling and Matt Campbell's drinks bill. But we went around, I came to the States twice, went to about 6 different countries to film it. And then, but this one, I'm doing purely on an iPhone for
Wow.
really no money at all. Well, I've got all the equipment I can to make a film now. So, but iPhones are great because they're very discreet. The cameras are brilliant. Spielberg made a music pop video on an iPhone for I think Mumford and Son or somebody, I can't remember. So the quality is very good, and they're extremely mobile, and so I don't have to lug all this guff around that I had to for the other one.
So it keeps your budget really low.
My budget is very low.
Oh
My budget
my.
is extremely
Wow.
low, but that's the way I like it. And I don't have to leave the country this time anyway. So,
Mhm.
and I mean, I hope American people will watch it and get some ideas from it, and speak to their
What's the
lawyers.
projected release date?
I'm hoping to have it ready in the spring. I'm
Oh,
hoping to
okay.
have it ready in the spring, but we have some things going on here with 9/11, which I'm actually not um, able to tell you about because I've been told not to tell anyone about it. So I'll respect the person who told me. But an important organization here is doing some work on 9/11. And so I'm kind of waiting for that to finish so I can include it in the film, which would be my little scoop on it. But it is pretty significant. Um,
Whatever it is, we'll probably hear about it
I
after
think
it
you probably
happens.
will, because I mean I'm sure we have some mutual friends who know about it. It's
Yeah,
just that somebody told me to keep a secret, so I will.
yeah, that's wonderful. So in the UK, um, they've recently legislated some rather draconian laws on free speech. Um, that you can't speak out against the state of Israel. You can't speak out against, transgenderism, that sort of thing. Are you affected by that at all? Or are you concerned about it?
Not why I'm concerned about it. I'm concerned about free speech. I think when it starts affecting humor, um,
Mhm.
that I think that's terrible because the one thing that well we think we're famous for, the British think we're famous for, is having a good sense of humor. Um, and I think I mean there was a chap a few days ago. I think Graham Linehan, who was a writer who wrote a series called Father Ted. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was a very silly series about Catholic priests, but
Mhm.
quite funny to that sort of thing. He was arrested for saying something, I think, about transgenderism.
Right.
Um, and I was watching him today, and he said it's so sad because he loves England. He's an Irishman, but he lives here, and and it's lost its color and it's lost its. If you can't have a joke, or I think that's dreadful. I mean, I'm by no means a racist, but I mean I've sat around with friends of different ethnicities, and we've joked about our ethnicity, but it's in a very friendly way, and we can laugh at our differences and applaud our differences.
Right.
For the government to come in and say no, you can't do that, it's disgusting,
Yeah.
and it just kills everything, and yeah, it's becoming very draconian. You have to be careful what you say. Fortunately, I'm quite myopic. I tend to focus on, especially if you're doing a film, that's all you do, and you're sat here. I've been sat in this bloody chair all day now, and you're sitting there just sort of working, chopping things, and I don't really think about anything else while I'm doing it. But I'm aware of all the crap that's going on. I watch American media quite a lot, American news media, especially recently because of the Epstein problem. It's a
Right.
nice way of putting it, isn't it? But that's nothing new either. I mean, you've had this problem in the States for some time. If you go back to the Nebraska, Omaha, Boys Town, all that kind of stuff. So as we have here,
Hmm.
Savile, etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm very concerned. I think Mr. Starmer is well, no comment.
Well, it is disturbing to see that free speech is valued so little by our governments. And it's concerning with the 9/11 truth movement too. Um,
Hmm.
of course, because the people who support the official theory tend to think that we are the terrorists by saying that uh, the Al Qaeda did not perform this act of terrorism, and there was other um, culprits involved. So, it's a slippery slope when they start slamming free speech, you know?
Yeah, I think well, it is. On the other, I think it's a kind of there's both sides to this coin. I think they're worried. I think they're extremely worried. And this could be part of the reason. Um, I mean, you can see the kind of polarized version of that with what Trump's doing at the moment. That he is so petrified of what's in these files, the Epstein files, that he's doing things like bringing out the National Guard in Washington to distract people. And this is just purely subjective. This is just my opinion. The clamp down on free speech by Starmer here is I think it's symptomatic of fear. There was a chap called Brigner Brzezinski, wasn't there? He was one of Barack Obama's, I believe, mentors when he was at university. Horrible individual. And he made a speech about the internet and how it had really backfired on them because I think they expected us all to sit around and watch free pornography or kittens or crap like that. But of course, a lot of people have used the internet for educational purposes, and especially like Susan and I were discussing, we both sort of got interested in 9/11 because of Dylan Avery's film, because of Loose Change, and saw things like that, and then devoured everything that you could get on 9/11, which I don't think they really catered for. And so I think this clampdown is I would hope it's the death throes of these people. I think they've really overstepped the mark, and um,
Yeah.
because when you see the reaction, like the policeman that I had here, when you show people this evidence, that it does sink in. It takes a while, like we were talking about Raul Angula, um, uh, reluctant. But when you can actually make them sit down for an hour and a half and watch a film, whatever it may be, then the penny does sink in, especially with Building 7. I tend to center very much on Building 7 with any 9/11 work I do. I'm not too, I mean, I'm bothered by it, but I'm not too fussed about the theories of the Pentagon. Some people say a plane hit it, some people say a plane didn't hit it. I really couldn't care less. I just want a new investigation. On Building 7, we have the physics. It's as simple as that. We have physics. And I think you can, it's not wrong to study everything else. Of course it's not. I mean, I'm sure the Twin Towers were exploded as well, but Building 7 is a thing that really hits hard. And I can use it in a courtroom without fear of contradiction. I've got Isaac Newton
That's
behind me.
right. It's what we call the smoking gun.
Mm.
Um, it, uh, that's exactly true. It's what you can prove in a courtroom, without speculation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's what they can't disprove.
Hmm.
More to the point, especially from a legal perspective.
Hmm.
And like I said, this is maybe the difference between the US and the UK. Here we only need reasonable cause to suspect. Um, and even Chat GBT agrees with my legal defense now. So that really is something, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know about AI.
No,
You can get AI to agree to almost anything and write something brilliant about it. But that's my opinion on
no,
AI.
you're quite right. I mean, you can persuade it to say pretty much anything you want,
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but
yeah.
no, I've also run it past some lawyers as well, some human ones. So
Great, great. Well, shall we open it up to questions to our participants right now? Or was there something else you want to cover first before we open up for Q&A?
not personally. No, I'm very
All
I'm very
right.
limited in my scope.
So raise your hand if you have a question. Oh, Jerry's in the UK. Jerry, go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Is that me there unmuted?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Do you hear me? Hello, Tony.
Hello, Jerry. How are you, mate?
Yeah, but a lot closer. I'm fine, thank you. Hope you're well.
Hmm.
I'm up here in Scotland, as you can probably hear.
My deepest
We
sympathies, mate.
fried Mars bars and all that. Yeah, the we came away with the Building 7 stuff back in 2012, 2013 to do, with the anomalies with the NIST model versus reality, stiffener plates, shear studs, expansion, all of that stuff. In the interim time, we actually obtained the a full set of structural drawings for both towers, which unfortunately haven't been given the publicity that they perhaps warrant. The case that is developing just now for the towers is stronger in terms of the physics than the case ever was for Building 7. And as I say, I was onto the Building 7 structural anomalies from 2012. You're saying we've got Newton on our side, we've got physics on our side, and Building 7 is actually very safe ground and it's good ground to be on. I would applaud that, and I think that's the right approach that you're taking there. But the case for the towers is actually stronger, and it is developing in terms of finite element models and stuff like that. I wonder maybe in the future. And I love the BBC thing, by the way, the license thing. It was just brilliant. I wonder if in the future you might consider pivoting toward the towers. I agree the Pentagon is not the place to go. Um, as soon as we're getting somewhere, you'll notice everybody starts talking about direct energy weapons, what
Yeah.
hit the Pentagon, and what that is that's a pivot away from good evidence, and it's the mistake. And people within our movement who should undoubtedly know better continually fall for
Yeah,
this one,
it's
and they're
it's
falling
it's
for it as we speak.
it's
I
kind of
just
up there.
wonder what your thoughts were on that.
No, I mean I agree with you. I don't ignore the Twin Towers, and like I said earlier, I'm good friends with Matt Campbell, who lost his brother in the North Tower. So I'm well aware of the explosives in the towers, and going right back to the early days. I think even in Loose Change, which was like the daddy of 9/11 truth movements movies. You have the famous clips of the firefighters so going boom boom boom, popping out. We all seen that clip, and the newsreaders, all the journalists out on the street, and and the swibs, and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, there probably has been more in recent years research done into the Twin Towers. I only focus on 7. In my experience, Jerry, there's something about the Twin Towers because they're so iconic and because they were full of people. Um, as as with 7 there weren't. Um, I found it intellectually harder to convey that to people. They tend to shut down on you. The idea of, and Matt Campbell agrees with me, and we've discussed it before. Everyone can look at an empty building and it's demolished, and then Building 7 was, and we can prove it. And we can prove it with the Twin Towers as well. But for some reason, if you're trying to speak to someone maybe outside of our circles, they really go into denial about the Twin Towers. And so really it's just a sort of a time-saving exercise. And because I go to court quite a lot, I just keep it to Building 7. But I agree. I think all the research that's going on into the Twin Towers, the more the merrier. Absolutely. And like I said, I agree with you. I think the Pentagon is something to be avoided. I mean, all we want, all we're striving for is a new independent investigation, and everything else will come out in the wash. But I agree with you. There's a lot of BS out there, which I'm sure some of it's deliberate, some of it's just misguided. The directed energy weapons, all that kind of nonsense. But yeah, but no, I agree with you on the towers. It's just I tend to focus. As for
Yeah,
doing another film on it, my wife would probably kill me if this would better be my last one, or I'll be divorced.
right. I was more
Worse.
thinking. What I was thinking was actually Matt's case, where when you look at the report on the towers, it's a carbon copy of their MO on Building 7. They've exaggerated the effects of heat on steel. they've missed elements out on their model. They've totally removed elements,
Hmm.
and then they've only went to the point of initiation.
Yeah, I was going to say that
And
the
I
mechanism
just
of collapse is not even addressed in the
yes,
commission report. Yeah.
yeah. So it is an absolute carbon copy when you actually get into the weeds. They've added forces here and there. They've exaggerated the effects of heat, and in terms of Matt's case, you know, the High Court thing just now, if that could have been presented in a more cohesive way, I feel he would have had a real case here to say, okay, let's pass this on to some engineering body in the UK and ask them to just
I
to
haven't read.
clarify.
Yeah, I don't know if you have. I certainly haven't read the thousands of pages which make up Matt's evidential bundle. I mean, I think it's I can't remember how many thousand it was. It might even be nine. It's a huge bundle of
Yeah,
evidence. So
yes,
I don't. I think they'll have covered it as thoroughly as they can. I mean, I know he's liaised with some really good people, and obviously, architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth. What more they could have done on it, I don't know because I've not seen it. I you say they'd have a better chance. I'll be brutally frank. I don't think they've got a I don't think they got a sniff of getting it
I
overturned.
think I've got to agree
Only
with you
because of
there.
the British government.
Yeah, I wish that I didn't agree with you there, but they're asking the British legal establishment to basically turn around and say, yes, somebody in the US murdered 3,000 people and it wasn't Al Qaeda, it wasn't. And to ask the British establishment to do that is ultimately a fool's errand. But I think it's a laudable cause and it's a laudable case and he's got to do it. The fact
He's
that
got
he's
to
garnering the publicity that he is, I think is of value. I don't want to totally
no,
poo-poo on
he's
his,
got to
you
do
know.
it, and I understand exactly why he's doing it. And thank goodness that they have some, good backers to help fund the court procedures. Um, I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I think having a new inquest is not going to be quite well. First of all, it's not going to get any press coverage. You and I both know that. It's not going to be splashed all over the front of the Daily Mail, which it should be. Um, all it really does is raise a question over the cause of death. Now, it it's not going to say who did it. It's not going to say who planted the explosives if that's the road that they end up concluding. Um, so an inquest doesn't really have quite the same bite as an independent inquiry. But yeah, no, I applaud Matt for doing it. It must be terribly frustrating. Thank goodness he's got the money behind it. I think ultimately he's going to end up in the European court. I think I think they'll have that right of appeal. I think that's the way the process goes, and it will just drag on
Yeah.
for years and years and years. It's like he calls it
Yeah, they'll
total
dra
warfare,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, they'll drag it out, yes. Brilliant brilliant work, Tony. Look forward to your film and look forward
Yeah,
to
you will
seeing it.
because
Cheers,
I'm
mate.
not in it much. We've got a nice young lady.
Brilliant,
We've got
mate.
a nice young lady in this one. Far more.
Even better. Even better. Brilliant, mate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Oh, thank you. Well, next we have Magnus. Go ahead, Magnus.
Thank you. Very great work, Tony Rooke. What I want to say or ask about is where can I watch your movies when they're done or what you already have?
Oh well, this one. If you just put in incontrovertible Tony Rooke because it's an unusual word.
Cool.
Incontrovertible and Tony Rooke, and you'll find the website. It's Killing Auntie Films. Is the word, but Incontrovertible Tony Rooke. It's on YouTube.
Oh,
I
thank you.
guess, and the new one when it's done, there'll be a website for that, and hopefully I'll get to give it a bit of publicity, and you'll get to know about it. Or you can drop me an email on the film's website. That should be linked when you go to watch the film.
Thank you. Wow, great.
Good. It'll keep you amused on your lonely nights in a Norwegian wood.
All right, I'm gonna put this in the the link for the movie in the chat.
Oh, good. I'm glad you can do it.
Yeah. Multitasking is a little bit difficult at my age, but there we go. All right. So did you have any more questions, Magnus?
Just when did you find out about Building 7?
We were discussing this earlier on with Susan. I think someone in about 2004 gave me a copy of Loose Change. It was Loose Change, Dylan's film, and when I saw Building 7 especially, it was kind of like, that ain't right. That ain't right. And then, but I tend to focus more on Building 7 than anything else, not because I don't think anything else is worth studying. It is, but you can also go a little bit nuts if you started to go down the Pentagon route, and it's hard work.
It's very hard work. Very
Yeah,
well, very great work.
Yeah, I mean, Incontrovertible took 2 years, and this one's taken just as long. So, I have a wife who gets very annoyed with me.
Oh, wow.
We all have to take care of our partners as well, our family life. All right. Joe Olson has a question. Oh, you put your camera on. Let me add your spotlight. There you go. Hi, Joe.
Tony, I don't have a whole lot of time. I'm getting ready to do another Zoom call in just a few minutes. But I did an interview with Boston 911 Truth, February 20th, 2025. It's about a 90-minute long video. I cover a lot of information. I've been a trained structural engineer, worked in private practice since 1983, hundreds of multi-story buildings in 20 different states. I know exactly what's going on. When the South Tower leaned over 20 degrees from plumb and then leaned back up and fell down in 14 seconds. I said it was controlled demolition. I was on the phone with a friend of mine. So I knew at that instant it was controlled demolition. I knew about Building 7 when it fell at 5 o'clock that afternoon. I've spent thousands of hours of research in this. I've got multiple articles, dozens of interviews with James Fetzer. The dozen that we had on YouTube all got wiped out, but I've still got a dozen over at BitChute. And the interview that I did with Boston 911 on February 20th is really good information. If you need any additional information, have Stu give you my contact information. I'll be glad to forward written articles to you. But
okay,
I've got to go for another Zoom interview. Thank you. Enjoyed it. Good luck. I've been to UK 6 different times. Love of my life lived in Epping. And so we had a long distance romance, 2 weeks every spring and fall for me in UK, and 6 weeks every summer and winter for her over here. So have a great love for the British people. But man, your country's a mess. I couldn't believe it. We were driving around one day, saw a BBC van with a big hula hoop on the roof of the van, like turning back and forth. And I knew what it was. It's a directional antenna. I said, "What are they doing?" She goes, "Oh, they're looking for people that aren't paying their licensing fee." I went, "What?" Yes, CCTV cameras on every. Back in 2003 to 2007, CCTV cameras on every lamppost, speed cameras around every corner. The BBC tracking everywhere. It's just absolutely, and the people over there just go, well, what else can you do? I mean, it's so Orwellian. The people just walk around like everybody's a Winston Smith. They're just ready to, wipe out all the history and just, wait for the rat to come to be put on their head and chew their face off. Absolutely crazy, and I feel sorry for the situation you're in now because it's only decayed enormously in the 20 years that I have visited. But beautiful country. Been from Dover to Bath and Warwick to White. Saw dozens of castles and cathedrals. Wonderful history, but you got a problem. Anyhow, God bless you, Tony. Thanks a bunch.
Cheers, Joe. Thank you.
All right. So Jane Clark has questions in the chat. Let's see. She can't join us because she's watching from work, so she can't participate and ask her own question. Is there a list of your video film work somewhere? Do you have a website, in other words, I guess?
There's a website for this film, for Incontrovertible, which is www.killingauntiefilms.co.uk.
Okay. All
But if
right.
you just put Incontrovertible Tony Rooke, you'll find it. I mean,
All
it's
right.
yeah. I mean, I've done lots of little videos leading up to that one, but they're all much the same. But Incontrovertible, I guess, is interesting because it is police officers, and it's always refreshing to see police officers talking about this because it stops people from accusing you of being some tinfoil hat wearing loon. And so, excuse me, we've got police officers who are trained investigators, let alone 3,600 architects and engineers. But it's always interesting to see police officers, some who were there on the day as well, talking about it. And that was the point of the film, so to get it to them, because I do honestly believe that if we can convert them, it will take a long time, but we can convert them, then it's going to be a lot quicker than trying to convert the rest of the US or the rest of the UK. That's for sure.
Can you give me that website again? I want to put it in the chat.
www.killingauntiefilms, auntie as in uncle, killingauntiefilms.co.uk. That's not a reference to killing my auntie, by the way. The BBC is nicknamed Auntie in the UK. It's called Auntie Beeb. So it's a reference to the BBC.
Ah, okay.
But like I said, Tony Rooke, Incontrovertible, there aren't many films called Incontrovertible.
Right.
For good reason.
Let's see, it's not coming up. Oh, here we go. Got it.
Got it?
Just a little bit, my internet was just a little bit slow. So let me put that in the chat. Okay.
Does it come up? Does it come up as I haven't looked at this for years, so.
Oh, well, I can share screen. There we go. Can everybody see that? Can you see that, Tony?
I see it.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the correct link. Incontrovertible 9/11. Sorry, I gave you the link that's on the back of the DVD, which is no longer.
Yeah.
Goes
So
online,
the Killing Auntie link works.
It does work. Oh, good. Good. Splendid.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
So she has another question.
She's not doing much work today, is she?
She's the executive director for the lawyers committee. She's actually my boss. I'm the treasurer for the lawyers committee.
Oh.
Yeah. But she has her own law practice, private practice as well. And
I love lawyers.
Okay, let's see. Trying to find her second question. It was about Danny Jawenko.
I never met Danny, but obviously, like everybody else, I think I've got a clip of him in the film.
I can't find her other question.
I don't know how he died, if that's the question.
Maybe.
I think it was a car accident on the way back from church, which was very sad. But
yeah, a lot of people think he was murdered, but I'm not sure what the evidence is about that.
The trouble is when anyone who's associated with this kind of thing dies, it creates another conspiracy theory.
Yeah. And without proof, then it becomes an issue and discredits what we do have proof on. So we have to be kind of careful about that. Let's see. Oh, yes. Do you have any, here found the question. Do you have any information on or about why Danny Jawenko, demolition expert, died and what caused his crash? So we already answered that question.
Not at all.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments?
Can I go down the pub now?
Yes, you
I
can.
know there's a Scotsman up there who wants to go.
Yep. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's they do definitely have some good alcohol there in Scotland.
Very, very good.
You have a beer. You have a beer on me, Tony.
Oh yeah, cheers, man.
Yeah. Oops,
Next time I'll let you know.
something just went wrong with my computer. I can't see anything on my screen. Oh dear. Well, is everybody still there? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yes, hear you
Okay.
fine.
My screen just went black. So I don't know what that means. But anyway, thank you so much, Tony, for joining us.
No pleasure.
It's been a pleasure, and I can't wait to hear further about how your court case, well, we don't know if it's going to court, about the your refusing to pay taxes, how that works out, and when you release your new film, just say the name of it again.
It's called a letter from Chloe.
A letter from Chloe. That should be quite enlightening, due in the spring. We'll look forward to, please let us know. Keep in touch. And we very much appreciate everything you're doing. And from at this point, we're going to be going on to our local agenda. I normally end the recording right now, but since I've got a black screen, I can't seem to end the recording. This is
better
very
cover my camera.
bizarre. Yeah, let me just press a few buttons. Let's see. Nope, nothing. I don't know what's going on here with my computer.
Try pressing